might have accomplished is but the dream before the awakening. Are we about to awaken? And if so, what might be awaiting us? Let's take a journey on this imaginary spaceship and see if we can find out. This is Voyager 1, more than 22 billion kilometers away, traveling deep into the void. It carries our messages to the universe. In 2012, 35 years after its launch, Voyager 1 became the first man-made object to leave the solar system. Actually, our robots had visited every planet in the solar system by now, in search of life and habitats. For a second home away from home, Mars is the most popular choice. NASA believes that the best way to build a life on another planet is to use the resources over there, and settlers are planning exactly that on Mars. Shipping payloads to Mars is not cheap. Both government and private businesses are turning to a transit, the Moon, to test out techniques and technologies before going to Mars. Half a century later, after Americans first landed on the Moon, lunar exploration was again rekindled. In January 2019, China's rover Yutu-2 touched down on the far side of the Moon, the first ever by humans. By 2024, the United States aims to land on the Moon again. The reason? Water. Vast amounts of ice on the Moon can be used for construction, and most importantly, rocket fuel. In the near future, we will see a moon-orbiting space station by NASA and China's low-Earth orbiting space station Tiangong. They will serve as outposts for space endeavors to the Moon, Mars, and even beyond. While voyages to Mars have yet to become a reality, the race to control Earth orbit is real. Global positioning systems are making a lot of work on Earth much easier, including agriculture, industry, and transportation. And governments and private companies are competing to launch satellite constellations to provide high-speed internet access. And newer and better rockets are making everything happen quicker and cheaper. Although we have explored the edge of our solar system that only covered a drop of water in a vast sea, already our imaginations has flown even further to another solar system, another galaxy, and beyond. Hello and welcome to CGTN Dialogues, New Era in Commercial Space. I'm Zhou Yue. What a journey, and these are what we humans have done in space. But what lies ahead, and how can space be used by us? Today I will be joined by scientists and entrepreneurs who have made frontier research or thought hard about space. And I'm honored to be joined by Liu Le, and he is the General Manager, Deputy Director of the Commercial Aerospace Division from China Volant Industry Company Limited. And Kevin Xu, he is the General Manager of Global Marketing and Services from Land Space. Pascal Ehrenfreund, President of the International Astronautical Federation, the IAF. She's also former chair of the German Aerospace Center. Dmitry Loskutov, Director General of Glarus Cosmos. Clayton Maury, Vice President for Global Sales, Marketing, and Customer Experience at Blue Origin, and a Special Advisor to the IAF President. Dr. S. Somanath, Director of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center at Indian Space Research Organization, and Victoria Alonso Perez, Founder and CEO of ChipSafer, and also a UN Young Leader for the Sustainable Development Goals. And this program is co-organized by CGTN and International Astronautical Federation, Well, thank you all for joining us. My first question is to you, Liu. What is the most amazing change that space endeavored to human beings, in your opinion?
Yeah, as everyone knows, aerospace has been influenced with people's lives since it has been born. And in recent years, with miniaturization and also standardization, no matter the satellite manufacturer or the application services has been rapidly developed. That makes aerospace industry be no longer isolated industry, but also associated with other industries. And also it has been more and more impact with people's life in every aspect. Such as usually we divide satellite applications into communication, navigation, and also remote sensing. For communication, it's easy to understand. No matter where you are, you can communicate with others. No matter if you are in an airplane or in the deep sea cruise, or even, it's a good example, we are here to communicate with our guests from foreign countries.
Yeah, for a satellite.
Yeah, from satellites. That has really bound us together and just to share our opinions with each other. And also for the navigation function, it has been expanded from the ordinary vehicle navigation to such like urban traffic management, and also the positioning function in your mobile phone, just like the sport or the health application for recount your current location.
Okay, and Kevin, what is the most amazing change that space has brought to us as human beings?
Okay, for me, I really would like to make it, let's say, more literal. I would like to say a touch into the deep space by human finger. Since the first satellite launched into space by the well-known Sputnik 1, and then we have been launching into space, especially into the deep space, so many, let's say, orbiters around the Earth, and also so many spacecraft into the deep space, like, let's say, Voyagers, and also Huygens, Cassini by the our European colleagues, and also Chandrayaan by our Indian colleagues, and also Chang'e by our Chinese. So for me, the biggest, let's say, change what our human beings already brought into this world after the birth of the space exploration. That is, our, let's say, knowledge has been broadened so much by the space technology, by leveraging the space technology.
And Pascal, you are the president of IAF. What are your thoughts?
Well, as a president of the International Astronautical Federation, I have to say that there are really dramatic changes in many parts, of the space sector and the commercial space industry. As a scientist, I have to say that space exploration has been fantastic over the last decades. We have learned to understand by far more our solar system, the origin of our solar system, our place in the solar system, and our place in the universe. And I think that is something which is really defining, a society for the future. And as a last comment, I want to say, it has been mentioned already, our advances in Earth observation, satellite communication, and navigation, they are very, very critical. And these changes we will actually need to apply now, where we live in unprecedented times, in a global health crisis. And they are very, very useful, those data, and we have to harness them in international collaboration for the benefit of society.
Indeed. And Dmitry, Russian, or the former Soviet Union, were the first nation to send cosmonauts and also the first satellite to space. So what is your reflection of space endeavors by human beings?
Well, one can talk a lot about technologies, about advances in technologies. But for me personally, and I think for nearly every one of us, space age has changed our mentality, our psychology. It is the change of self-perception of your inner self. When you understand that there are no horizons, no boundaries for exploration, for travel, that is something amazing. 25 years ago, I lived in an American family, and my host dad was a NASA contractor. I could not imagine that in 25 years back, I will be back in the space business. I will deal with it every day. So I think it's not that technology is progressing every day, but it's our perception of universe that has changed.
Perception change is indeed very important. And Clayton, as an American, what is your thoughts?
So it's important that space indeed does connect us. It tells us where we are, and it allows us to explore the universe. But I think the really important thing, the benefit of space, is for life here on Earth. And so it's really helped us to understand this planet, to understand climate, to understand weather, and that has been, to me, the biggest impact of space.
And Dr. Somanath, as China, India is also catching up in space endeavors. What is your thinking about space technology on our lives?
I will look at it in such a way that we have been able to understand the issues in Earth first, and also it enabled us to look beyond Earth. No, we have been trying to make the space technology people-centric, how to make it touch everyday life of the individual. That means the space technology has been application-centric, and it has to remain like that. Then only it can grow beyond Earth. We need to have our foot strong on Earth, and how to solve day-to-day problems of society, and how to make space technology manifest in each and every moment of life. And that has to be the focus for us to grow beyond that. But with the space technology today, we are able to look beyond Earth and then look at and wonder our position in the whole of the cosmos and the universe. And this enables us, and this is the only technology that enables us to travel beyond the gravity field of Earth and look and explore planets and other heavenly bodies. Possibly, this is the only technology that helps us to go beyond Earth and then maybe make some of those planetary bodies our home for the future. And I am excited about the work done by space technology, both in Earth and beyond Earth.
Victoria, of course, I know that you not only look beyond Earth, you actually look back at Earth with your technology. Your thoughts?
I think that we are in a really, really exciting time. My generation was actually born with astronauts going into space with the Space Shuttle program. Then there was the International Space Station. And this gave great inspiration to a lot of entrepreneurs. And now there is a lot of space entrepreneurs working in different areas. And I think that another thing that really I love about space technology is that the United Nations has set up 17 goals to be achieved by 2030. And right now, we really need to step up to be able to achieve them. And space technology is a key enabler for that, with the satellite communications that can allow for education, also with all the satellite monitoring, the Earth observation that, for example, can detect deforestation or can really help with agriculture. So I think that space technology can really have an amazing impact, especially in this time with all that is going on in the world with climate change.
Okay, let's take a rough view of the satellite use orbiting the Earth. To be exact, as of April 2020, there are 2,000 low Earth orbit satellites circling the Earth. But if the internet proposal, satellite internet proposal, will become a reality, that means in about 10 years, there will be 50,000 active satellites orbiting overhead. But it reminded us of the experiences in the 1980s and 90s when satellite companies like Globalstar, Iridium, Odyssey, they have impressive plans to send satellites up there, but they either cut back or cancel some of the projects because of cost and the low number used. Is it possible that we will run into similar problems this time?
Yeah, but here I want to just to quote a sentence from Abraham Lincoln. Once he has said, "I'm prepared. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity to come." So that is exactly the situation of the low orbit constellation. So back in 90s, the people's activity is quite narrow. I mean, they focused in a certain area, and they do not contact to others that frequency. But back to now, we are using internet everywhere, every time, all the time, and we connect with others, not even for emotion, but also for our work. By no matter where we are, no matter what time it is, it's just the obligation. We should connect with others, and that is the exactly situation of how the low orbit constellation will serve us. So I think based on that, the low orbit constellations will go into success, without question.
My question goes to you, Pascal. Is it too many satellites already, or simply still too few? What do you think of the satellite use in the future, Pascal?
Well, obviously, we have a problem that the more satellites, which will go into orbit, the more congested it will get, and we will have to develop new technologies for deorbiting and satellite repair, moving them into other orbits. And I think that is a very important topic when we have 10,000s of satellites. And I think in particular what has been just discussed before, it addresses small sats. There have been 385 small sats which have been launched, I think, according to studies in 2019. And the prognosis, I think 90% of that was into a low Earth orbit and 60% of that for constellations. But when we look in the future, the estimates are approximately 1,000 small sat launches, or 1,000 small sats launched into space per year in the next 10 years. And that is, I think, a booming small space market, but certainly it raises also other problems of congestion in space, and we will have to deal with a lot of other technology advances.
And Dr. Somanat, I know that India is also catching up. In 2017, actually, you sent more than 100 satellites in one launch vehicle. So what is India thinking about satellite use or even congestion in space, if that's the case?
As we said, as Pascal said, it is a global problem. Having a large number of satellites in low Earth orbit definitely poses new challenges. I don't see that it is as something that cannot be allowed, but it has to be allowed because it provides us certain flexibility, certain operational convenience, and also certain services which is going to be beneficial for the humanity.
But of course, despite all those troubles, satellites have been helping us. I know, Victoria, your company is a good example. You invented a platform called ChipSaver, which can basically track cattle, livestock on the ground autonomously and automatically. Tell us, how exactly does that work?
Great question. So with ChipSaver, what we do is we have a platform where we can monitor livestock remotely. So the animal wears a self-recharging device that transmits information about it to our company server. It transmits information about GPS and accelerometer. So the farmer can know at all time where the animals are and receive a warning if an animal goes beyond the specified perimeter. And it's also very important currently because we can ensure the whole traceability of the meat chain. So enabling a consumer to be able to know that the beef they are eating is does not come from protected areas such as the Amazon rainforest, for example, that cattle didn't contribute to deforestation, because there are many, many farmers that are very sustainable, and we want to show that. So this is a great example of how a space application can have a positive impact in the world.
Can you tell us why it is a private company like yours who came up with the idea first, but not conglomerates
So the idea came because I am Uruguayan, and in 2001 there was a very big outbreak of foot and mouth disease, and because of this, a lot of animals had to be killed, and we couldn't export any more beef. Our main source of export is livestock products, so this was terrible for the economy. And at the time, I was working with small satellites. My background is aerospace, and I realized that I could use the space technology that I was using with the small satellite to monitor the animals remotely. And so that's how I made this transition from working in the aerospace industry to benefiting an industry that it's from my country and that I know very well because of growing up with it.
Obviously, it is very ingenious, but the application of space technology is not just satellite. Launch vehicles is also very important. Now let's talk about the launch industry. Actually, it is not just the government that is making rockets. Private companies have also drawn the ranks to develop their own launch vehicle services. And we've selected 6 models from the global market on rockets development. Well, the first rocket from the left is India's GSLV. And the second one is land-based Zhuque 2. That is a low-cost launcher. And the third is Russia's Soyuz 2. The fourth one is Ariane 5. And then is New Glenn, the reusable heavy-lift launch vehicle by Blue Origin. And the last one is, of course, China's Long March 9 rocket. That is 33-story high and is capable of lifting 140 tons of payload into space. So there are different launch vehicles. One of them is your company's. It is still in testing, but can you tell us why you are on board to develop your own rocket as a private company?
Okay, for sure. Right now we are facing the space industry, let's say, we're facing a quite high market demand from the satellite launch. Just due to the rapid development of the downstream space applications, and there will be more satellite queuing right now. Currently, they are queuing to wait to be sent into the space, but there were no enough, low-cost enough launchers for them to get access to the space. So that's why and how land space is coming to being, and that's why and how our low-cost Zhuque 2 liquid launcher come into being.
I'd like to talk to you, Clayton. Blue Origin has a plan to develop its own reusable launch vehicle. It seems reusable is the new fad here. Can you explain why Blue Origin is interested in this kind of a launch vehicle service?
Sure, and thank you for the question. So at Blue Origin, we see a future where millions of people are living and working in space. So we're trying to build a road to space to enable space to benefit life here on Earth. We're starting with New Shepard, which is a small suborbital vehicle. We're using that to learn how to launch, land, and fly again very quickly. So this is the key to reusability, is being able to do that and to provide this low-cost access to space to allow entrepreneurs and others to go to space cheaply and develop that. We're going to take the technology from New Shepard and apply that to New Glenn, which is quite a large vehicle. It stands over 300 feet tall. It has a very large reusable first stage that will launch and then land on an ocean-going platform. It has a huge payload fairing, 7 meters in diameter, a large volume to launch constellations or large scientific satellites or other spacecraft. So we think that this will really fundamentally lower the cost of access to space and allow other companies to be able to utilize that low cost to do things in space that will benefit life here on Earth.
And Dimitri, since the retiring of space shuttles, Soyuz has been providing basically the only launch services for humans to space. But what are the other plans for Russia? Because launch services have been developed by different countries all around the world.
Yes, you're right. I think Soyuz remains the most reliable rocket up to date, and with with several hundreds flights. Just a couple of days ago, several days ago, a contract was signed by Roscosmos and Progress rocket plant for producing a methane powered rocket with a reusable first stage. So we will continue use the Soyuz rocket, our reliable vehicle with the frigate upper stage, very capable upper stage, which is, by the way, always has enough fuel to get back to deorbit itself. But we're also starting marketing Angara rocket, which is modular based, and it has a light version and a heavy version. You know, well-known Proton launch vehicle will probably finish flying after 2025. So by that time we will move to Angara. So there is a number of vehicles, including conventional ones, the military vehicles that can be used for civil purposes. Rocket, you know that program was pretty successful. So Russian Federation will have enough launch vehicles for the coming decades, both for commercial and for internal use.
Kevin, I want to come back to the different versions of launch vehicle services. There are government-sponsored services. There are private companies like yours. What are the strengths and challenges of either facing the increasing demand from around the world?
Well, let's say, yeah, you're right. It's the launch services are generally divided into these kinds, let's say. From my opinion, I guess, in a recent future, there will be a boost, let's say, from the private and also the massive satellite application market. So that is to say, the satellites, just as I introduced a moment ago, the satellites which are queuing to wait to get access to space, that will be a boost in the near future. But on the other hand, I still think for the government-sponsored launch, there will be, let's say, in the next decade, there will be still quite a large amount of, let's say, numbers of launches which are still in the market, because space is so much related to national security and also, let's say, to this defense.
Let's talk about competition and collaborations. Of course, different countries are developing their own capabilities, and private companies are now joining the ranks to have capabilities to send payload and even people into space. What are the possibilities of global cooperation in space endeavors? Pascal.
Well, I think it is obvious that large scale international exploration missions, they have to be conducted in international cooperation. You need to exploit worldwide expertise. It's often a financial discussion, of course, because you need to make it sustainable for a long time. And international collaboration, I think, is a very important opportunity. There has to be competition and there has to be collaboration. And when you just look at, startups and space entrepreneurs, they have to pitch an idea, they have to be risky, they have to get, investors interested to make a really good business case. And obviously, there is competition. When you look at, new innovative technologies, you need a lot of science and technology development, which including blue sky research, which is actually mostly occurring in research organizations in universities. But you need this transfer into the industry, and then you really, really need collaboration. And I think the most and the best way of, having really a complementary success is when everybody is working together. We call this, innovation ecosystems, where primes and also of course, small, medium enterprises, universities, research organizations work together in a complementary fashion to, create success.
And Clayton, talking about competition and collaboration, probably you can weigh in here because Blue Origin and SpaceX, American companies, they also cooperate with NASA to develop space capabilities. What is the right mix of cooperation and competition there?
So it's an exciting time right now because with this new Shepherd system that we're building for suborbital, we actually have been flying microgravity research missions for NASA and other international space agencies that we've already flown as we're testing the rocket and getting ready to fly a capsule that's capable of carrying up to 6 people to space. We look forward also to be doing in the future missions for other space agencies around the world where we can fly people and payloads for them to outer space. There is a request for information out from NASA right now for suborbital crew to look at training astronauts in a program. We're excited about that. We would love to do that for other nations as well, and basically open up access to, there's only less than 600 people that have actually flown above the Kármán line since Yuri Gagarin flew in 1961. Mm-hmm. And so if we can put those people up into space, experience the overview effect, this is going to open up tremendous avenues for cooperation. So we're excited about that.
But you also face competitions from other companies and other countries. How do you view that?
Well, competition's a great thing. It makes you better as a provider of services. It makes it better for the customers and lowering costs. So we welcome competition. We think that's a good thing. We don't see this as a race between nations or companies. We think that 1,000 flowers should bloom here. That space is only good if there's a number of competitors in the marketplace.
And Liu Le, of course, Clayton used a Chinese phrase, 1,000 flowers should bloom. But is it the similar case in China that 1,000 flowers are trying to bloom in space industry?
Yeah, exactly. After the 2040, there's a kind of public announcement from the central government, which is encourage the private and also the financial system to get involved into this aerospace industries. So after that, there are at least 200 industries has been established in China who get not only in satellite applications, but also like the land space to create the launch vehicles. And also there are several manufacturers who is going to manufacture the new generation of satellites.
They were driven by the market demand, not by government directives.
Exactly, they are driven by the the market demand. And also in several kind of fields, there are competition to the national industries. But I think it's a good way. With this kind of right from the market side, the national industries will just to promote themselves and to think about how can they do a better job to support the national programs.
And do you think there is a line between where the national government should involve in terms of space exploration and the private businesses should be doing? Is there a definite line?
There is no, I don't think there's an exactly definite line between the private companies or the national companies getting involved into different fields. But as there are many friends said, the aerospace has just get related to the national defense. So I think maybe it's by that national security, some jobs or programs will be still, handed up by the national enterprise and the institutions. That's for sure. But besides that, I think it will be more and more open markets and to accept more rights and also competition from the private enterprise.
Yes, that's very interesting because space is not just a place to try science. It is also a place to make money. Space industry is something new. It refers to the manufacturing of different things from spacecrafts, ground support systems, satellites, launch services. And how big is the space economy? According to the latest data for Morgan Stanley, It estimates that the global space industry could reach $1 trillion in 2040. Where we are now, only $378 billion currently. That means we could see exponential growth of space industries in the coming decades. Kevin, of course, your company joined the market because of the potential, but what can happen to make it such a big industry, $1 trillion in 2040?
Oh, well, I guess it will be, that will require, let's say, more business mode and more business to come, and also more space activities. So that is to say, over the next decades, no matter you believe or not, there will be so many terms of space technologies come into being and to be invented. They were just invented, they will be just invented to change our lives, our everyday lives. And you couldn't imagine, let's say, back to scores of years ago, how you can imagine you will just sit in your car and then, let's say, driving by the navigation systems. And right now, currently, most of them are supported by the navigation satellite systems. So let's say just unleash your imagination, and then over the next decades, there must be, let's say, thousands or scores of thousands new inventions related to the space technology. And then that will trigger the big market to be, let's say, to come into being.
Okay. Victoria, in order to make that happen, $1 trillion economy, I think we need to have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of companies like yours. So how can a company use space technology to develop business models? Victoria, can you shed some lights on this?
I think that there are many, many ways in which a space startup can start right now. The most obvious is with satellite applications and something that can benefit here on Earth. But of course, we are thinking about settlements in Mars or in the Moon. So I think that that will bring a ton of opportunities for entrepreneurs. For, if we are going to develop a new society outside of the Earth, we will need all types of applications and all types of startups. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a really, really exciting time for to be an entrepreneur. But coming back to the Earth, there is so many problems that need to be solved, and that space technology can really help with that. And so I encourage all of the entrepreneurs, especially the social entrepreneurs, to really think about how the space technology can help solve one problem in the region.
And Dimitri, Russia used to boast a very strong space industry, but that's more for national security. Do you foresee a space industry in Russia to enjoy a renaissance or even new development?
The renaissance is in place already. It's as someone said, it's not that it's easy to become number one, but it's not that easy to remain number one, and especially in the space industry. And I think all of us agree today that competition is very good. Competition boosts cooperation. In fact, competition and cooperation are just two sides of the same coin in space. And in Russia, one could argue if there is a private space industry or not, but even at Globkosmos, our daughter company, GK Launch Services, is partly privately owned. 25% is private capital. There are also, apart from Roscosmos State Corporation, there is Gazprom Satellite Systems, which is like a state company. There are also private companies like Sputnik's, and many others. And I hope that our government as well understands the need to open up a little bit, to start opening up space facilities for private companies, because without cooperation we won't ever see some problems, some flaws in the production cycle. And it's very good that there are different space companies and we see more competition today, because once again it makes us more fit, more perfect. So I think it's just the right time for the new space age to unfold.
is it the right time? And Clayton, another very exciting and challenging frontier is space tourism. I know that your company, Blue Origin, and also Virgin Galactic are selling space travel tickets, but is it really realistic that average person can travel to space at affordable price in the near future? Clayton?
Sure, why not? Look, we haven't actually started selling seats yet for New Shepard flights, but we really are excited about the idea of flying normal citizens to space on New Shepard. As I said, we have a capsule that has 6 seats inside the capsule for passengers to fly above the Kármán line, above 100 kilometers, to have this overview effect, and also to do microgravity research and real science up there as well. So it's an exciting time to be able to open that up, and we're looking forward to opening up the horizon for that.
So Pascal, can you give us a picture of how space tourism, space industry would look like in 20 years? Is it that everybody can use space as a third dimension to live, to work, to have fun, to do research?
Well, I think we will not know all the details of the future perspectives, but what we can be sure right now is that the space sector is extremely vibrant and dynamic. And when you look, for instance, at the investments in space by venture capitalists and space angels, they have really boomed in the very recent years. Also, the startups have increased, and we have really disruptive, a disruptive market for many of the portfolios of the space industry. So it is a time which is quite amazing. Many of my panel members have said the same. And also when you look at this year, in 2020, I think we have already an enormous amount of launches and also of small satellites. So even the COVID-19 pandemic has not yet had that incredible impact, on the space sector. However, we have to monitor the future and the long-term applications. And I hope it will stay that busy. And we had shared many examples today concerning technology innovation, what will be possible. We have not mentioned well the data issue. That is also an important topic, how to deal with all those data all over the world and how we analyze them and how we actually distribute them, how we strengthen the downstream markets. That's also a really important thing for the future.
And another great aspect of space industry is that there is businesses, resources out there. For example, it is said that the moon and other planets and asteroids have a rich diversity of minerals and other resources. Pascal, is it possible for humans to mine those celestial bodies in a time frame of 10, 20 years?
I think it will take a little bit longer. Yeah, but we are making really great steps towards it because we are developing technologies for in situ resource utilization. This means to extract and process local material in order, to support life support systems, but also propellants or habitat technologies. So we are learning to live off the land, and we are developing technologies which will be also really important in order for drilling and probably mining in the future. I think mining is quite a difficult endeavor. It needs a lot of equipment. You have to think about, are you going to do it automatic? Do you need actually humans? And so there are a lot of technical discussions and methods which have to be developed. But always remember, we would not have imagined 10 years ago what we are doing today in space. So we have really to keep an open mind. And there will be, when the time is right and the technologies are here, we will make it happen.
Yeah. What about the Chinese understanding of using resources in space? For example, China has landed on the far side of the moon, and people are saying probably China will establish its lunar base in the future. Is that a possibility to mine the resources there on the moon for the Chinese?
Yeah, I think China has carried a lot of deep space exploration missions, basically based on the principle of use the outer space with a peaceful purpose. And for that, mostly we are carried out those missions to seeking the secret of science or the kind of maybe resources of biology. And to build a moon basement is possible. As Pascal said, who will know what's happening in the 10 years, and just keep an open mind to see what we are going to do.
But Pascal, there's the question of who will get there, and can they claim to real estate in the outer space, and what kind of a regulation should be? Or is it still too far down the road to think about those questions?
No, it is not at all too far. It is really, really important that lawyers, and they have started already, really discuss, planetary protection and regulations, for deep space. Though we have a lot of regulations, we have the Outer Space Treaty, which in particular, looks at the low Earth orbit, but we really, really need new regulations and also environmental protocols when we actually touch down on moons and planets and asteroids in our solar system. And this has to be a multi-stakeholder approach, and we have to discuss together so that we do not destroy or that we do not have really legal problems. And institutions like the International Institute of Space Law and many other organizations are really dealing with this problem, and they deal with this problem already since 10 years.
And will Mars be the next target? Clayton, do you want to share some of your thoughts? Because there are American companies who are eyeing at Mars.
Our motto is step by step ferociously. So we want to learn how to launch our systems first and then go back to the moon. And then the 40-year vision you talked about is figuring out how to live and work in space. So a big part of that is getting heavy industry off of planet Earth, learning how, as a number of the commenters have said, learning how to use the in situ resources of outer space, and then going on to other planets. So look, this is a tremendous planet we live on. We sent probes to every planet in this solar system. This is by far the best one. Let's focus right now on protecting Earth, working in the Earth environment and on the lunar surface, and then we'll go from there.
A very realistic answer. My final questions goes to each and everybody of you. So where do you see the opportunity, the future opportunities for commercial use of space? I'd like a very short and quick answer, please. Let's start with Liu Le.
So we are already taking some steps by commercial way to explore the outer space. And in the very latest future, we are going to explore that with our entrepreneurship and also with our advantage technologies to get a bright future.
Kevin?
Integrated information system, including the space technology in the loop. The first one. The second, space sightseeing. I guess it will come true in quite short time, let's say. And then the third one is that we can call it, let's say, an integrated AI application with space technology, which will come in a commercial way.
All right. Pascal, your vision for space opportunities in the terms of commercial use?
Well, I think since we are living in unprecedented time, I want to come back to the topic to use space technologies, really for the benefit of Earth and Earth observation satellites, new application services, which help us to deal with global crisis and disaster relief, global change, and our environment. I think this is the most important thing for the future.
And Dimitri?
Well, you asked me to choose just one thing. Given the coronavirus situation, more and more people want to leave this planet, to fly away. So I think commercial space tourism. And Globkosmos is reopening private space flights.
All right. Clayton?
I would say first is connecting the planet with broadband service, and second is the space tourism aspect of opening space for everyone to go to space and experience that.
All right, connectivity and space travel. And Dr. Somanath?
Now, space technology becoming an invisible part of your life. That is the only way applications will become multifold, and it will become it's something which you cannot live with. Even today, it is something that is very important in our life, but then we need to make it so connected that it cannot escape without it.
Victoria, as a young UN leader for sustainable development, what's your vision?
I think that right now, any application that can help mitigate climate change is very, very important. We need to work on that. I think that right now we are realizing how complex everything is. We are at a point in time in which we need a change in mindset. We need to change the way we consume. We need to change the way business is done. And so I think that there is going to be a lot of opportunities in that. How can we assure to mitigate the risks of climate change? But also, I think that we need a plan B. So obviously, investing in space exploration and a settlement outside of the Earth, it's also, I think, a very good opportunity right now.
Yes, indeed. It is not only useful, but also inspiring. Thank you, my fellow panelists, for your thoughts and analysis. And thank you for joining us on the journey to discuss and to explore the universe. Well, the path to space development is not a black and white choice between government or businesses. As space commerce continues its growth, policymakers have to be savvier because space is a large place. It is always amazing to be where you are, but it will not stop us from going even further. This is CGTN Dialogue special program on commercial space. Goodbye and good luck wherever you are in space.